Am I the butthole for telling my dad that my stepmom deserves every penny she has gotten? So my 27 male, stepmom, 53 female, has been in my life since I was 1 year old. My mom dropped out of my life when I was 3 months old and I've never met her. My dad, 51 male, started a business when I was 10 and my half-siblings were 5 and 8. My stepmom would take care of us when we got home from school and then work 6 to 8 hours a day for my dad's business. I would remember her going out to distribute marketing materials, driving out with him to trade shows, do his accounting into the early hours of the morning, and filling in the blanks for employees who either quit or were absent in some way. Basically, she worked close to full-time and she would only take $1 a year because she wanted my dad to put her would-be salary back into the business. When his business started turning a large profit around when I was 16, she worked more part-time but still never took a salary. But I feel like what she added emotionally to my siblings and I was worth more than she could have been paid in a full-time, skilled job because my dad was distant and a difficult person. However, 2 years ago, they suddenly split up. My dad moved out. By then my stepmom still worked part-time for free but was mostly staying at home. But my dad we all thought was also close to being semi-retired. At end of their divorce, my stepmom got 50% of my dad's business. My dad is absolutely furious. He called the system unfair, said that this was a tax on his hard work that deters further innovation from him, and that my stepmom didn't build his business, she merely stepped back and allowed him to do so. Every time he comes over to my house or comes to events for any of his 3 kids, he's angry. His greatest hits of complaints include "Your stepmom took herself out of the workforce and that's her fault. What has she ever done to get free money?" The final straw was when yesterday he complains that his girlfriend, 25F, yells at him every day over the fact that my stepmom is basically a business partner now and that if I was able to work 70 hours a week 16 years ago, she should be able to do the same at Walmart for the next 20 years. I finally snapped and said that until he can bite his tongue about my stepmom, I didn't want him coming over anymore. I also told him that in my opinion, my stepmom deserves every penny she's getting and if I were the judge, I would have given her all that and more. Am I the butthole for being fed up? Not the butthole at all. I'm glad you stood up for your stepmom and that she's a big part of your life. Agreed. Original poster's father sounds like the guys who hate taxes because he built everything himself. As if the roads, public schools, libraries, and other public services didn't help turn him and his employees to the people they are today. Yes, he sounds like a classic narcissist. I've noticed in my life that they tend to be classist as well. It's sad that people act like that. And he's got the midlife crisis girlfriend, 25, egging him on, knowing nothing about what he actually experienced, objectively. Christ, his girlfriend is younger than his child is. What a schmuck. Know someone like that he built his business by himself. Ignoring basic infrastructure, and the fact that his most recent business only exists because he hired a well-known person in the area as the face of his business. However, once the well-known person jumped to greener pastures, the business took a hit and the owner eventually had to sell his house. His wife had to work for his father so that they had some steady income, but yeah, owner did it all by himself. He is a true Rand acolyte. Disgusting. Not the butthole, all of this original poster. The dad is the type to use the sweat of your SM back to ease his wheels. She built it for him and deserves it. Guys like this always spew the system is rigged except you never heard the backstory. He will continue to dog her out because men like this are users and hate when the law upholds the rights of the women in their lives. Yeah, also notice that he's with someone just under half his age now. That's definitely by design and the thing she is yelling at him for is also very telling. Original poster, you are not the butthole. Stepmom sounds like a class act. Dad's new squeeze is younger than original poster. And she's saying that the stepmom should work at Walmart for the next 20 years? The stepmother and dad suddenly broke up, so I'm wondering how faithful the dad was during their marriage. I'm not going to say whether or not he was or wasn't faithful, because I don't know, but he clearly didn't take the whole till death do us part portion of his vow very seriously. Ironically, the butthole dad doesn't realize that his girlfriend is making him spend more money than his ex-wife ever would have. Suddenly split up plus the girlfriend's age make me think he might have cheated, too. It's nice to see a story that isn't crafting on step-parents for once, laughing out loud. I'm happy original poster defended her too. Not the butthole. That's because stepmom is very clearly innocent/right here, unlike some of the things where a step-parent's entitlement is central to the problem. There's also a fair deal of posts where people are awes to step-parents with no valid reason. But there is a clear bias in this sub with step-parents where they can be treated like absolute trash by teenagers or children because they didn't choose her and God forbid they actually treat her nicely. But she shall never act as if they aren't the most precious beings in the world. Not the butthole. Original poster, not sure if you've ever told her how much good she has added to your life, but I know she would appreciate it. I'm glad you aren't letting your dad drive a wedge in your relationship with your stepmom. It's difficult to be the stay-at-home/working part-time parent. You're always expected to be available for resolving family issues, and people will try to make you feel guilty for taking time off, since neither of your jobs are real enough to merit time off in their eyes. It's clear to see that your stepmom was willing to put her needs on the back burner, so your family as a whole would enjoy success. I'm glad the court recognized her contribution to the family and business. Hopefully one day, your dad will as well. Same. More often than not, you hear about the step-parents being just rude and degrading. It's nice to hear one where the step-parent has stepped up in a good way. Although crappy that your dad has such a chip on his shoulder over the situation. I'm glad that you've got a good relationship with her, and I hope your dad comes around. Not the butthole. This lady not only looked after his children as a mother but also worked at the company for essentially free. This is one of those times I'm glad the courts weighed so heavily in her favor against the entitled arrogance of your father. Kudos for having a spine and sticking up for her. They didn't even weigh heavily in my opinion. You pay someone $1 a year for full-time work for over a decade, to me that's half your business worthy. You have your spouse not only work but also take care of your previous and current kids, again half your business. You do all that and spout bullcrap? Solidifies it to me. F that guy. Don't forget that he then dumps his wife, expecting her to get nothing, and then turns around and gets a gold digging. She's complaining that his ex owns half the company. She's a gold digger, girlfriend that's younger than his own son is. I disagree. If it was in her favor she'd get a lot more, which she deserves. This is just a fair 50-50 split. She deserves her wages back, plus 50% of the company. Yeah, I wouldn't say she's owed more control of the company, but she's definitely entitled to at least 50%, and back pay for all that work she did for $1. For every year she worked that he doesn't want to pay, she should get an additional 5%, control of the company if he doesn't want to reimburse her. If everything else was also split 50-50 she did get the back pay, either in the form of the business that had more money invested in it, property they bought as a couple, presumably using money from the business, or just in the form of savings. Yeah, she deserves more. Hope she got the house and other assets. The term for this is sweat equity. It can apply to businesses or if you joint own a property and one person has done a lot of DIY to it. Yes, she made all her major adult life decisions based on what was best for the company and her family. Move to another city for a job opportunity? Nope, the business is the priority, so she needs to stay put. Go back to school to get new skills? No, the business and family need her time. Who attends parent-teacher conferences, drives the carpool, and cooks dinners? She does, so her husband can spend his time building the business. She no doubt would have had other opportunities if she made different decisions. Of course, she deserves half the rewards after decades of making the business her priority. Not to mention, since she was working unpaid, she won't have a work history with Social Security, meaning her eventual payments will be lower than if she'd worked elsewhere. Also, with no salary she wouldn't have had a chance to build a 401k. I'm sure there's no pension for her. Getting half the business is the only way she'd get financial security in retirement. Oh, right, she's supposed to start over in her 50s by getting a job at Walmart. Not the butthole for defending stepmom to butthole dad. Not the butthole, your entire post was explained right here. His girlfriend, 25 female. He built up the business to get himself a trophy wife, and now he's mad that he couldn't just leave the stepmom high and dry. Real class act. Yep. A lot of people want to be able to divorce their spouse and leave them with nothing. I saw a guy once make a post that he believed women shouldn't be able to take anything from a husband during a divorce. A little questioning, and he believed that even in the case of a housewife supporting her husband with nothing to fall back on is taking that risk when she gets married. A lot of dudes want the live-in maid, nanny, cook, and sex partner but still feel like they are the ones taking care of her and that she should be on the street penniless if he decides to leave. I really like that lately the narrative has been shifting regarding traditional gender roles, that the man never really supported the woman, but instead that women supported men's ability to have a career by doing all the childcare, housework, cooking, and even often taking care of the man's health via managing things like his appointments/schedules, etc. Oftentimes the difference between having a wife and having a mom for these sorts of dudes is they're having sex with the wife. Yeah, I feel sick every time I see men go on about how they take care of the housewife and she therefore owes him sex when he wants it, and call women cunts if they aren't feeling it sometimes. They need to try keeping their own house, raising their own kids, cooking all of their own meals, and handling literally everything on top of their own jobs, or alternatively, see how much it costs to pay nannies or chefs or housekeepers and then try and say their wife is just a dependent they married for the sake of a contracted sex slave. When women couldn't work or own things, divorce was out of the question for their personal well-being. Now that divorce is an option and working is an option, it's better, and for some women it doesn't have to be a death sentence, but a lot of men want the woman to be his housewife and do all those duties while claiming his earnings as his when he's the one that married her and made it so all of their belongings are theirs. Then they act as if women are the problem and marriage is bad for them. Like holy crap, when they feel threatened by marriage they don't like it, but it was always okay for women because they had no choice. If it's so scary to get married because she might take your stuff in a divorce, imagine her sense of risk when she has kids with men who could divorce or leave her destitute if she didn't get to take her share in a divorce. Statistically speaking, marriage leads to men living longer and women living shorter. Man, this really makes me respect my dad all the more. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I repeatedly heard from him that what he and my mom had set up was a division of labor, and she was earning the money he made just as much as he was because he didn't have to hobble his career by taking time off to care for us kids and maintain the household. Don't forget the tax concessions and a safety net to fall back if things go south. These dudes aren't too happy when women decide to keep working and want to split the housework. Oh yeah, I've seen situations where both worked and she still had to do all the house duties. I had a friend who was with a man who would come home from work and lift no finger at all with the baby because he worked and that was his computer game time now. Don't get me started on the fathers that babysit their own children. That's my friend's situation right now. He gets home from work and goes straight to his computer to hack off to hentai until bedtime, while she does all the housework and childcare. If she asks him to do any simple tasks, he acts salty about it. Today she completely wore herself out with their daughter's birthday party. She has an autoimmune disease that gives her fatigue, so she just asked him to clean 2 toilets. He acted annoyed and then cleaned them with Windex. Windex? Divorce him. I mean, also her disease and refusing to help, but dear God, it's window clearer. It's named Windex, not Toiletex. The ones I've seen definitely want them to keep working so they can pay half the bills. They just want them to do all the housework and childcare too. Why do these men get legally married? I don't get it. The assets built during the marriage are not his nor hers, they belong to the marriage, and she isn't taking his money when they divorce any more than he is taking hers. If you don't want that, don't get married. It's so simple. They do have a thing going, not a bad idea in theory, but they sit around bitching about women all the time instead of going their own way, and they blame women for all of their problems. Someone called that sub-incels role-playing divorcees, and I'll never unread it. Sometimes the internet really nails it. I've heard so many men say that. If she put her career on hold to care for the children, that was her choice. I was too focused on the other effed up stuff here to even catch that. Oh God, I missed that. Original poster, your dad is a giant butthole. I knew that part was coming. Like clockwork. Kind of reminds me of the movie The First Wives Club. That's what came to mind when I read your comment. There's this post on Tumblr that says, if the age gap is over 10 years you're legally allowed to rob him, smiley face. Not the butthole. She invested her whole adult life into the company, while taking care of kids that weren't even hers. She sounds like an amazing human being. Original poster says half siblings, who are younger, so I'm guessing those are original posters' dads and stepmom's kids together. Ah yes, indeed. Still, she is a good example of how a step-parent can be a positive influence in life. Not everyone has such a good relationship with a step-parent like this. 100%, take away the butthole dad, and this was a wholesome post. I can attest to that statement. Not the butthole. She invested her entire life to this man, his business, and his family. I agree she deserves a reward. It's hard for some males to grasp the concept that most of what they have couldn't be possible without the unpaid job of women. This is not a reward, it is her right. As his wife, she get half. Not the butthole. She not only contributed to the business, she also stayed home and raised his kids while he was working, which was presumably a joint decision. I'm sick of men thinking that women are the automatic parent. She deserves every cent. Also, seriously side-eyeing the fact that your dad's girlfriend is less than half his age and younger than one of his kids. She most definitely doesn't get a vote on whether your stepmom should get part of the business. I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messin' with no broke. This. Men who are only able to have a family and career because their wives do 100% of the family work don't get to complain that she took herself out of the workforce. That is just BS. He benefits from not having to worry about kids, or meals, or the house. In addition, this woman worked for free for him for literally decades. 100%. He's not spent a single second thinking how successful his business would have been if he had done 50% of the childcare and had to hire a bookkeeper, while stepmom worked herself. He wants all of the benefit of the partnership and none of the responsibility. Yep. Parenting is the work that makes all other work possible. If all moms went on strike tomorrow, men would appreciate their contributions much more. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.